Hi, it's Ida Norris. I'm here with my friend Gail Matheus, and she's from Spotlight Horse Shows. If you could see that on her coffee cup, my friend, hold it up again. She is an amazing organizer. She developed this online competition platform for us and has a lovely, lovely series. So join into her online shows. Gail is a large R Western dressage judge, and she's a rider and trainer, and she also rides dressage. And one of the things that's really is exciting is that she is a judge educator, and she's the judge educator administrator of the WDAA Judges Education Program, and helps out with so many activities for us in Western Dressage and with the Western Dressage Association. You kind of have your finger in the pie helping all of us, don't you?
There's always something to do. It's a very active organization. So,
you
yeah.
you support all of us, and her IT help really helps us make a difference to all of you. So thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here today.
Well, our job is to allow all of us to get to know all of the people out there on the other end of this podcast. And what we want them to do is to get to know our wonderful judges, you. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of cool questions that I've asked everybody else. Um, the first one is, do you have a funny or unique or strange story while you were judging or at a horse show? What's your funniest, weird, strange story?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily funny, but it was a little strange. A few years back, I was judging a show in the South, and it was just a lovely, beautiful day. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, no wind. I mean, it was just like your perfect horse show day. Well, I'm sitting there at the table with my scribe next to me, and this girl is having this absolutely stunning ride with her horse. And just as, the way the table was, it was very, very close to the arena. And just as the girl and her horse were coming in front of us, the oddest thing happened. The sheet of paper, eight and a
Uh-oh.
half by 11 sheet of paper, levitated. I mean, it just, no wind, no nothing. It just levitated up and started going into the arena right by the horse's head. And I'm like going, I want to jump out and grab this paper, but I'm afraid my hands flailing around is going to spook this horse, right? Well, this this horse just looked at the paper, and then it looked, kind of, you could tell I was like looking at the rider, like, what do you want me to do? And the rider just said, well, we're just going to go. It just missed the horse's head, floated back down. I grabbed the paper and she continued her test. Well, I got to tell you, that is the first and only time I ever gave a 10 on harmony because it was just so surprising. And the horse and the rider handled it so well. It's like, why wouldn't you give it a 10, right? So that was a very unique and oddball thing. Never had it happen again. And I don't know, thermal draft on that day, whatever. It just picked up that paper and started floating it perfectly level into the arena.
Mother Nature was
I
helping you get
know.
that 10, you know?
They say as judges, be prepared for anything and everything. I was not prepared for that at all.
Mm-mm. No, and we're always terrified. We're sitting there, please, please, please do your best. And we're terrified of disturbing them. I know
Yes,
I'm terrified if I stand up and I sit down, and sometimes the boxes are kind of dirty and scrapey. And I'm trying to sit down and pull my chair up under me without scraping because I don't want to shock the horse coming down the center line.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
amazing how much stress we have about, oh, we don't want to disturb their performance. We want y'all to do the very best you can.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, if that was just that horse was had such a golden heart, and you could just tell the two were together, and they were like, well, just ignore that levitating piece of paper right in front of my eyeballs.
That's amazing. What a great story. Heartwarming,
Oh,
isn't it? That was heartwarming. Oh, that's great. Well,
yeah.
I'm thinking about the next question, which I love. It's kind of a cool question, but if we give you a soapbox and we put you up there on your soapbox, what's your soapbox? Give us a hint.
Oh no. Well, you know, I would have to say it's the free walk in our tests, especially the lower level tests. And the free walk to me is so important. And I think it should be very important to the riders because, after when you see thousands of tests coming down center line and you kind of look at the results afterwards, I realize that the people that usually win the classes are the ones with the best free walk. And so I started thinking about that. And the reason is that, we all make mistakes, things happen, all things being equal. But the free walk and usually the working walk with it is a double coefficient.
Yeah.
And, it's a low impact movement. It's not something where they're going to have to be worried that, something's going to go horribly wrong with it. But so many riders just, I hate to say this, but it appears that they just don't even try it. They're afraid to let go of the reins, afraid to have the horse have its natural swinging gait. And just because of the mathematics of it, I mean, in intro one, for example, the free walk is almost 20% of the test. I mean, that's a lot. So if you don't try it, you're automatically down significantly from the other people in the class. So it's really important. It gives a chance a horse for the gives the horse a chance to breathe. It gives the rider a chance to relax and regroup. And usually even the gaits are better after one of these free or stretchy movements. So it's so critical for the rider as far as their placing in the class, but for the horse itself. Now, um, so why don't they do it? They might be a little bit nervous, show nerves. Okay, I get that. A lot of them, I think, maybe never trained it correctly. So there's a ton of information that's available to the riders for the free walk. I really, really would love them to pay super attention to that because it's going to help so much. Now, where is some of this information? Well, first of all, it's right on the test sheet. So on the test sheet, you've got, the movement and you've got the directives. So the directives for a free walk. The horse is willing to stretch the neck forward and down with relaxation, swing through the back, ground cover, straightness, and have a willing, smooth transition coming up. Now that cannot be done without lengthening the reins. And so many
Yeah.
people are like, have this like, it's like their
Grip.
safety device,
Death
So
grip.
yeah, right. So you have to lengthen the reins. And when you lengthen the reins, it's not like a little, a little release of the fingers and it goes 2 inches. It's a lot more than I think some of these riders go. I might let it out 18 inches or so to get a good free walk. So I think it's practice and I think, maybe show nerves, but you really have to lengthen the reins. Now, having said that, WDAA just developed new scoring guidelines for our judges, and we presented them in February at our judge education seminar. I'm so happy to tell you that those are also available online for all of our competitors to see.
Good.
And it doesn't go just through the free walk, it goes through, basically every movement that you can do.
So I'm going to stop you right there because what's
Uh-huh.
critical is you just told them it's there. Now we
And I'm
need to
going to tell them
find
where it's
where exactly is that on the LMS, the Learning Management System, on the
yeah,
WDAA website?
right. So, how
What
you're
does
going
the button say?
to right. So, how you're going to find the new scoring guidelines is you're going to go to the Western Dressage Association page. And there's on the top, there's a series of drop down boxes. One is entitled Tests and Resources. You're going to click on that. And then underneath there, click on the Western Dressage Rules and Guidelines. So under that, there's the judging resources. So you got to click through a couple of times, but go to judging resources and you're going to see the link there for the full scoring guidelines developed for 2024. It's
Yep.
exactly the same thing that our judges have to refer to. do review it because, it'll also help when you're, looking at your tests to figure out how to improve. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the free walk. Since that's my little soapbox here, the free walk that's in the scoring guidelines. So, under the scoring guidelines, we have kind of ranges. Now, these are guidelines, and it's important to understand that they're guidelines because we cannot say every single circumstance, and put it in writing for people, and combination of circumstances of what happens when you ride. So we've taken some general buckets and some general ideas, but the score could move up or down depending upon if something else is also happening there.
Right.
So do you
Or
read
is
the,
good. It could go
yeah,
up. It could go
yeah,
up
it
if
could
something
go up.
good's going on. Yes, exactly.
Exactly, right. Okay, so for an 8 to 10, everything's grouped like an 8 to 10. We're going to say the gaits are free, active, elastic. Your geometry and balance is accurate and good throughout. You're going to have fluid changes in and out of the free walk. And so many people do forget that, the take up of the reins and the start of it is part of the movement, right? And then we go through 7 to 7.5. It might have a lower degree of harmony, connection, or balance might be slightly less. And of course, but still we expect the transitions into and out of the free walk to lack tension, not have tension. So, your average range, satisfactory range, 6 to 6.5, you're going to have a modest lengthening of frame. It's going to be an accurate shape of a circle if a circle is required in that movement. But maybe the stretch is a little bit inconsistent, or maybe it's a little bit slow to develop, but it still is identifiable as a free walk. Now, here's where we start getting into lower than that. So a 4.5 to 5.5 is, let's say, we already went through the directives. It says to stretch forward and down. But sometimes the horse only stretches forward and not down. Sometimes it only stretches down, but not out. Sometimes there's tension, tempo changes. Maybe the half circle or circle isn't round. Maybe the horse is a little bit restricted by the rider.
Jogged.
Well, that's under a 4. So that's like a 4.5 to 5.
That's one of the most common problems, that there's some tension and the horse does a jig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our lower than that, we call it a 4 or below. So for a 4 and below, and this is why I said lengthening of the reins is so important, because if there's no visible change between the walks, and we do see that a lot, they're just like, okay, I'm just going to walk, right? No visible change is going to be a 4 or less, no lengthening of the rein, no stretch, tight back. Maybe the walk is lateral because of tension. Maybe it breaks gait. So that's going to be under a 4. So that 4 or less is really important. Remember, I said you have to try, right? If you feel comfortable, take a risk and at least try it. Because here's what could happen. If you don't try, you're already getting a 4. But if you try and the horse breaks, you're already getting a 4. But if you try and it does show me some stretch, you're going to get above that. And remember, it's a double coefficient, and it's so important to the training and the mental relaxation of the horse that, it's just so important for so many reasons. And, so that's my soapbox. And I just encourage you all to try and improve your free walk and at least show the judge that you're trying it, because we like to see the try. We sure do.
Yes, we do. And that's a great soapbox, because you're right. It's such an important movement in keeping the gait clear. And we only have, in most of the tests, one opportunity to show the walk. That's why there's often a coefficient on it in most of our tests. Not in all of them. There's a few in intro that have 2 walks, but most of the tests have only the one working walk, or working walk before and after the free walk. And that's one of the reasons why that coefficient's there. But One of the things that struck me when you said you wondered why people didn't show more difference, and sometimes it seemed like they were afraid to try. And my observation about that, which is kind of interesting, is sometimes I had the feeling they're so frightened or stressed or wound up that when they get to the walk, they just kind of go, uh, and the rider rests for a second because they're so, okay, I can walk. And
Right,
then, and they kind of rest by mistake instead of, continuing to concentrate and continuing to ride and continuing to try to loosen the
right.
reins and push the horse on and whatever. And so I was like, yes, sometimes it's so stressed they're resting, like, oh,
It is. And a walk is not a brilliant movement, right? But it's also, like you said, not a resting movement. We're still expecting some marching, some purpose to the walk. So you still have to ride those moments, and you can get so much good out of it. Your horse is going to be easier to ride generally because it loosens up the back. Um, you have a chance to breathe. Your horse has a chance to breathe, but you got to keep walking, right?
yes, keep the gas on, folks. That's
Uh,
awesome. Thank you for reminding us all about that. And that second column with all the directives for the judges, I think it's something that people overlook. It's great that you pointed out to us. So that's wonderful. Well, you can tell, I can see that you're very passionate about this, and everyone else is going to see that too. And with that in mind, the last question is about, we understand that we're all passionate about this. So if you can only share one thing with us, what would you talk to us about? Besides your soapbox, what part of the passion would you share with us about any part of Western dressage and horsemanship?
sure. So for me, the reason why I do love Western dressage so much is, number one, there's a lot of inclusiveness, and not just beyond the horse breeds and the people and their backgrounds, but really the fact that it's just so good for the horse. Um, you know, whether that this is the horse's sole and only career, you're just going to specialize in Western dressage, and a lot of people do, or maybe it's its second or third career. Um, I see over time such a great development in the horse's physique, in the way the horse moves, and the longevity of the horse. And, even the older horses have they have a purpose, right? They're not going to be barrel racing or anything, but they can do dressage and Western dressage and, improve their physiques, their muscular build. Western dressage horses tend to have such a much longer lifespan. I mean, right now I'm competing a 24-year-old horse at a very high level. And if it wasn't for Western dressage, I don't think she would have that that build in her body to be able to do it. And it's always interesting because as soon as you learn one thing, then your horse gets stronger, and now you can try something new. We have so many levels in Western dressage that it'll take, you could take a lifetime exploring all the avenues on it. But it's really the development of the horse that I just love. And along with that, the development of the rider comes too.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a wonderful conversation with you, and I'm grateful. I hope I can ask you back sometime again soon.
Well, thank you for hosting this podcast. It's really been a pleasure, and happy coffee drinking to you.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget, subscribe, like, and share. Also check out IdaNorrisDressage.com and Ida Norris Western Dressage on Facebook.